there, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford.
And Christian Weatherford.
And this is Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast, where we review your favorite animals out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics.
We are not zoological experts, but we try to bring the best and most accurate information we can.
That's true. And I am really excited. I have a really delightful family of animals that I'm going to be talking about this week. And
okay.
It's some we have a little bit of personal connection to, a little bit of personal experience around, I suppose. This week I'll be talking about nightjars.
Okay.
Do you know what a nightjar is?
A bird.
Correct. It is a bird. They belong to the family Caprimulgidae.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And members of the nightjar family, there are very many of them, but members of the nightjar family were submitted to us by listeners. Dalton Runberg, Michael Ryan, Abigail Sanger, Naomi Mulligan, and Callie Souther. Now, some of those were from a long time ago. I basically did like a Google inbox search for nightjar and wrote down the names of everyone who emailed those in. Mm-hmm. And some of those were from a few years ago. So Sorry if it took a long time to get to your request. Hopefully the wait was worth it. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where now, since we've started doing like full episodes dedicated to like zooming in on one thing in particular, it really gives me a chance to do like families, right? Because I can really kind of dig into all the things that make nightjars really interesting. And I was really surprised by some of these things.
Awesome.
I'm getting my information from a birdzilla.com article by ornithologist named Patrick O'Donnell, as well as Australian Geographic and a bunch of other sources that I'll cite as they come up.
What kind of website is Birdzilla?
It's like a blog website, I guess. It's called Birdzilla, and the tagline is "Enjoyin' birds" with a little apostrophe where the G should go, so you know they're like casual and approachable.
Yeah.
Enjoying birds, as we all are. But it was a really good article on like a bunch of different species of nightjars. But I have a lot of more specific sources as they come up. So if you've never met a nightjar, the species on the smaller end of the nightjar spectrum are about 7 inches long, while the largest species, the great-eared nightjar, can be up to 16 inches long. So That's about owl-sized. I would say their size overlaps a lot with owls. And some other things about them overlap a lot with owls too. But they're not owls, nor are they related to owls. They're not birds of prey, unless you're a bug. But I guess they would be quite dragon-like to you if you were a bug.
Yeah.
But nightjars are found all over the planet except for Antarctica. And they can be really highly specialized into a wide variety of habitats. So there are nightjars that live in rainforests and in mountains and prairies and deserts, basically like any type of habitat, except for like the ocean, I guess. Any land habitat, you won't see like deep sea nightjars. That would be pretty fun. But they kind of have the eyes for it. They have those big bulgy eyes that you could kind of see being in like a deep sea weirdo.
I'm hoping I'm picturing the right bird. I'm not confident.
What are you picturing?
Now that I realize it, it's probably a potu that I'm imagining.
Potus are related.
Oh, okay.
So they're similar, actually. They're not in the family. Potus are not a type of nightjar, but the nightjar family belongs to its own order. They're kind of taxonomically like their own thing. But outside of the family, their closest relatives are potus, but also frogmouths.
Yeah.
So the tawny frogmouth. Also oilbirds, which were mentioned in a recent episode with Ivan Phillipson. Also swifts and, surprisingly, hummingbirds.
Really?
Hummingbirds and swifts. Yeah, they're in a group called apodoformes, which means footless. It means like having no feet, because I guess in like ancient times, people thought that hummingbirds didn't have any feet, which is really funny.
I could see it, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, they kind of look like they don't have any. And if you never really see them at rest, then, I guess you would guess they don't have any. But a little bit on that name, Caprimulgidae, because it reveals something interesting about...
I was wondering about that first part.
Yeah, what do you think any of this means? What do you think Caprimulgidae
Something poop related.
Ooh, you're thinking of copra.
Oh, dang.
Not capri.
Okay, I got nothing then.
So the prefix capri means goat. And the end of the word mulgidae means sucking.
Okay.
So, Caprimulgidae comes from Latin meaning goat sucker. And goat sucker is like an old-fashioned name for nightjars. They're not really called that anymore. The name fell out of fashion like 400 years ago or so. But before modern times, they were commonly called goat suckers.
Okay.
This stems from an old myth about them that was documented by none other than, who do you think? I'm about to tell you some out-of-pocket, wild nonsense documented in ancient times about an animal. Who do you think the culprit is?
Is it Socrates?
Oh, no, but you're pretty close.
Okay, who is
It's our boy Pliny the Elder.
Ah, okay.
He's back.
Was this in his book?
Yes, this was in Naturalis Historia, timeless classic, total banger, which, by the way, was published in 77 CE. So, 1st century.
Somehow still published by Penguin. Before they knew what penguins were.
I think there were some passages about because they probably had seen like African penguins, probably.
True.
So this is what our boy Pliny the Elder, who never misses, had to say about nightjars. Caprimulgus is the name of a bird, which is to all appearance a large black bird. It thieves by night, as it cannot see during the day. It enters the folds of the shepherds and makes straight for the udder of the she-goat to suck the milk. Through the injury thus inflicted, the udder shrivels away, and the goat that has been thus deprived of its milk is afflicted with incipient blindness.
Okay.
So that's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So the idea is that this nightjar, which is this fairly small bird, at night sneaks into shepherds' flocks or shepherds' fields and sucks milk from goats. And then the goat goes blind. I don't understand the relationship between those two pieces of information. I don't know where that came from. But so Pliny the Elder wrote this. The only part of this account that is true is Caprimulgus is the name of a bird.
Okay.
That's as far as he got before he really fell off the rails. The rest of it, I have no idea. I don't know what happened.
He's just making stuff up.
It was like he typed a few words and then just let like when you're typing a text and like it gives you a few suggestions for your next word and you just hit the middle suggestion over and over again. Now, actually, I can't really dunk on Pliny for this one that much because the myth actually predates him by at least 300 years. When Aristotle wrote a very similar account to this in The History of Animals, which was his text that he published 300 years before Pliny the Elder.
Okay.
So at least this was like a myth that already existed. Pliny the Elder was just one of the people that wrote it down, and we rag on him all the time. So, of course, I wanted the opportunity. Like, I feel like it's a fun episode when you get to talk about Pliny the Elder being wild. Now, this goat sucking thing, while I wanted to bring it up at the top because it contributes to their scientific name and I find etymology interesting and it's an interesting myth about them, this will come up again at the end in a very, very surprising way. Way that really blew my mind. I'm very excited about it. Just know it's going to come up again in a very fun, surprising way. Now, as I mentioned, this is a whole family of birds. There are 98 species of nightjars, including nighthawks, whippoorwills, chuckwill's widow. You remember when we had a chuckwill's widow behind our house in Florida?
Well, a lot of these birds I have heard, but I don't think I've actually seen them.
No, I feel like most people probably have only heard them and not seen them.
Okay.
You're not supposed to see them. They don't want you to see them. If you haven't seen them, they're doing their job right. They're doing a good job. Also, the great-eared nightjar, which was one of the most frequently requested species of nightjar. They make the rounds on social media because, kind of like owls, they have these big, tufted, like ear-like shapes that make them look like a dragon. It looks like a dragon with cool horns. They're very cool-looking birds, so a lot of people send those in to us.
Nice.
So if this is anyone's first time listening to this podcast, what we do is we rate animals out of 10 in different categories. And the first category is effectiveness. So these are physical traits, things built into the animal's body that let them do a good job of the things they're trying to do. And I'm giving nightjars a 9 out of 10.
That's very good.
It's really good. So first of all, as their name might imply, nightjars are most active at night or during twilight hours. So they're really, really adapted to low light conditions. Do you remember what the word is for animals who are active during twilight hours?
Ooh.
It's a fun word to say. It's really fun to say.
Crepuscular.
There you go. Yeah, it's fun. It's not often that there's a word with pus in the middle of it that's fun to say, but crepuscular is really nice.
That's that hard turn on the C that helps.
Yeah, pusk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives it there's a phonetic rhythm to it that's very fun.
We've been doing a lot of mouthing out phonetics for Finley lately.
Yeah, because he's having trouble with those sounds that are like two consonants mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
So he has trouble with things like a j or a ch or something like that. So we've been doing a lot of look at my mouth.
And he's been picking it up.
Yeah, he's getting better at it. But sometimes that means that he like over enunciates certain words, which is fun.
I prefer that.
Yeah, I'll take it. So since they are adapted for these low light conditions, they have things you would expect to see in a nocturnal animal, like these huge sensitive eyes. Also, I learned an interesting word while I was doing this research. I learned that there is a word for low light conditions.
Okay.
Scotopic.
Interesting.
I'd never heard that word before,
Me
but
neither.
apparently that is a word used to like describe any sort of situation in which you have like a little bit of light, but not very much. It's called scotopic.
Huh.
Vocab building today. And another vocab building opportunity is that, like other animals that may need to see in low light conditions, their eyes have a tapetum lucidum. Do you remember what a tapetum lucidum is?
Don't think so.
You ever take a picture of a cat with the flash on? You get the laser beams?
Yeah.
That's from the tapetum lucidum. So
Okay.
I think we've talked about it a few times on the podcast before. It is a layer of reflective cells that's on the back of the eyeball behind the retina, like a reverse disco ball. Almost.
Yeah.
So when the light passes through the retina, which is what's like taking the information from the light, it gets bounced off of this membrane, shot back out, which gives the retina basically a second chance. So it'd be like any information that it didn't gather from that first pass, it can try again on the way out. So it lets the eyes absorb a lot more information from a small amount of light. And then if you see it from dead on, if you see it from the right direction, all the light that's being reflected out is visible to you. So like if you take a flashlight outside and shine it around like in the grass or into a forest or something, you'll see a lot of eyes shining back at you. That's from the tapetum lucidum.
It's a part of the deer in the headlights look, right?
Yeah. Well, I was reading that this is a way that some bird watchers will find nightjars is by like shining a light up in the trees at night so that the eyes will shine back at you.
It's that meme of the guy waking up with light.
I don't know how to describe that meme other than the sound that I imagine the guy making, which is
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing that they're adapted to other than low light conditions is eating bugs, which can be a little challenging because bugs are small and fast and they fly around in the air. So you have to be pretty adapted in some interesting ways to catch them. So all nightjars have very short and wide bills. It's very wide, and they have this little narrow pointed tip, and they can use the narrow pointed tip like tweezers to like catch a bug out of the air, but they can also just open their mouth wide like a pelican or something and then just fly through the air and just use their mouth like a butterfly net and just scoop things up.
They're whale sharking it.
Yeah. It is. They are kind of like the whale sharks or basking sharks, maybe, of the sky, I guess, except you'd be much more limited in how big you can get in flight. So, yeah, they basically can just open their mouth wide and fly through swarms of insects to scoop them up in their net. Now, so their beaks are also surrounded by something called rictal bristles. Have you ever heard this word before?
I don't think so.
It's a fancy word for whiskers. It's a fancy word for like bird whiskers. These bristles are like feathers that occur particularly around the beak. So I saw a lot of sources, even today. I was scrolling through like Instagram or something, and I saw an infographic about this. About nightjars, and it was saying that they have these rictal bristles, which is true, but it was saying something that you'll see a lot of sources say, which is that it helps them catch insects, and that the rictal bristles act like a net, and bugs get caught in the net of bristles, and then they use that to eat. Now, there are a couple of problems with that hypothesis, I guess, as to how the rictal bristles work. One of them is that there are a lot of birds that have these whiskers that don't catch bugs out of the air. So think kiwis, for example.
Sure.
They're probe foragers, remember?
Yeah.
You talked about. But they have very long whiskers.
Oh.
Why would they have those if they are not catching any bugs out of the air?
Cute.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Good looks. Another one, and this is, I didn't see anyone actually discussing this. This is just my own personal, like, thought process. If you're flying through the air trying to catch bugs, why would getting them caught in your whiskers help you? You don't want them to be caught in your whiskers. You want them in your mouth.
Right.
And if they're caught in your whiskers, you don't have hands to get them out of your whiskers. How are you going to get them from your whiskers to your mouth?
Right. Yeah.
You have a beard and mustache. You can maybe speak to this experience a little better than me.
I assume I have a little bit more of a developed tongue than...
That's true. Yeah, your mouth isn't like encased in a hard structure that would obstruct your sort of ability to get food out of your mustache.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, how would that help? That would actually block things from getting into their mouth, which is where they want them to go. But I'm not the only one who thinks that doesn't 100% make a lot of sense, because there was a researcher who took high-speed camera footage of flycatcher birds, which are not related but similar, at least, to nightjars. And they also catch bugs out of the air and have these long rictal bristles. They have these long whiskers. And this high-speed footage showed that they weren't using the whiskers at all in prey capture. Like, they were just picking the bugs out of the air, no whiskers involved. It didn't seem like the whiskers had anything to do with prey capture. So all of these sort of factors suggest that the bristles are probably doing something else. So there was a 2022 study that was looking at whiskers all across the bird family tree, and it showed that about a third of all bird species have these whiskers. And the sort of like spread of those species kind of suggests that this trait is ancestral. So meaning that it is a trait that the common ancestor of all birds had. So whatever ancient extinct dinosaur was the grandparent of all birds probably had these whiskers.
Okay.
And some of them kept it, some of them didn't. So a bunch of species of birds just didn't need them anymore and got rid of them. So the question is, what factors would determine whether they lose the whiskers or not? And some of them have little teeny tiny bristles, like eagles and pigeons and stuff like that. They have little teeny tiny ones. And then you see like nightjars and kiwis, which have really, really long ones. So it's like, well, why? Why are some of them big with some of them little? Some of them don't have them at all. The study showed that there are a lot of different traits associated with the species that have whiskers, and one of the major ones is being nocturnal.
Right.
So species that are more active at night, like nightjars and kiwis, or who spend a lot of time in dark caves, like oil birds, tend to have very long whiskers.
Is it acting like a cane to like where they can feel themselves getting close to like a branch or something before their actual face touches it?
Yeah, it's like whiskers in cats or a walrus or something like that. It's sensory, like it helps them. But also if it's a flighted bird, it could be something that's helping them orient themselves in the air, like helping them feel the wind speed, helping them feel their direction, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a sensory thing, helping them get around, which is really important for a bird who flies around in low light, maybe wouldn't be able to take visual cues. And now another hypothesis is that it might actually be helping shield the eyes and the nostrils. So if you're flying around in the air, you're going to be getting a lot of dust and debris and things that you don't necessarily want blown at your face, right? If you've ever ridden a motorcycle or even like a fast bike, especially ridden it through like a dusty area or a swarm of bugs or something, you know that like when you're at a high speed, a lot of stuff is going to be flying at your face really, really fast. So the idea is that these whiskers might be acting kind of like a visor or like goggles or something that are like keeping debris and stuff from just slamming into their eyes and nose while they're flying through the air. And just like, this isn't like a one or the other situation. It's not like, oh, it's because of this and not because of this, or it's only because of this and not this other thing. It's probably a little bit of both. It's a little bit of everything, right? There's never like a one size fits all answer to things like, why does this animal have this trait? It's probably a bunch of other stuff. It's kind of like how like humans have tongues originally for like manipulating food in the mouth, but now we use it to talk. So like, you know, the same structure can serve multiple purposes in an animal. So I thought that was really interesting. That paper was called The Evolutionary Origin of Avian Facial Bristles and the Likely Role of Rictal Bristles in Feeding Ecology. That was by Marianne G. Delaunay et al. In Scientific Reports in December of 2022. I also found something really interesting. there's this one species of nightjar. It's called the common poorwill, which is different from a whippoorwill.
Okay.
So there's whippoorwill, and then there's the poorwill.
Sure.
Apparently different species. But the common poorwill is found in Western North America, and it is the only bird known on the planet to basically hibernate. So their body can go into this state of torpor where their metabolism slows down really, really far. They become totally inactive, which a lot of birds will do in short bursts. So like hummingbirds will do this, like overnight. They will go into a state of torpor so that they can sort of rest until the next day when they can get more food. Lots of birds can go into states of torpor for small amounts of time, but the poorwill is the only species of bird known who does this for like months at a time.
Wow.
Will like literally just be like in a hole on the ground or like hidden on a branch or something, motionless, hibernating for like months at a time.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess there's some distinction between torpor and like true hibernation. At this point, I don't think I know what true hibernation is because every time I hear about hibernation, people are always like, well, it's kind of like hibernating, but it's not really true hibernating. But I've never heard anything actually being described as truly hibernating.
Right.
I'm like, what does it even mean at this point anymore?
Who's moving these goalposts?
Who's moving these goalposts? Who is gatekeeping hibernation?
There's a bear behind this. I know it.
It's Big Bear. Big hibernation that doesn't want the brand diluted, I guess. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about for effectiveness, for physical attributes, is that the males of some nightjar species, not all of them, but the ones that do really do, they grow very impressive ornamental feathers.
Oh.
These are like bird of paradise level ornamental feathers.
Wow.
They will, so there's 3 in particular that I found interesting. One of them is the lyre-tailed nightjars. In comparison to the other 2, it doesn't seem that dramatic, but on its own, it's very cool. It just has these very, very long trailing tail feathers. So when it flies, it kind of like has these ribbony tail feathers. The other one, first one, is the pennant-winged nightjar. So it develops these really, really long primary feathers, and they're kind of like in the middle of the wing. It's not like the very, very tip of the wing. It's like the last one of the primary feathers. If you imagine that your fingers on your hand would be like the primary flight feathers on a bird, it's like the pinky finger of it. And they just grow really, really long and give them this really bizarre silhouette. I'm going to see if I can show you a picture. In flight, I think they end up looking like a Luna moth or something like that.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
And it seems so impractical, too. It seems like it would affect flight.
It's like something you'd see in an alien movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does look like something you'd see in like Subnautica or like, some sort of movie about aliens. Now, the next one is even wilder than that one. It is called the standard winged nightjar. And it looks like, I saw a video of these a few weeks ago. I'd never heard of them before. I saw a video of them and I thought it was AI. And I had to like quadruple check to make sure that this was a real species of bird that existed. So here's what they look like in flight.
Wait.
It's incomprehensible. Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
So basically, it's those same primary feathers, but for whatever reason, the feathers are like 2 feet long.
Right.
Much longer than the bird itself. And they're completely bare, so no barbs until the very, very end of the feather. And it looks like a cat toy, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh.
Doesn't it look like a cat toy? Well, 2 of them, because it's got one on each wing.
Right.
So it's got these 2 cat toys that it's flying around with. And it just, like, while it's flying through the air, it just kind of, like, is trailing these, you know, very dramatic sort of, like, kite tails behind it. So at first, I thought that the fact that they call them the standard winged nightjar was a huge misnomer.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what is non-standard then?
That's what I was like. What are you talking? This is the most custom-made thing I've ever seen in my life. There's no way this is standard.
Is this anime power scaling we're doing?
This is the level 1. We're talking. This is a level 1. We're talking about a special grade wing.
And this is what it means to go beyond.
The weird arbitrary system introduced in episode 1 that is just immediately blown out of the water and never mentioned again. Well, so I thought this was a misleading name, but then I found out that they're not named after Standard, the adjective, but Standard, the noun, which unbeknownst to me means a battle flag. So think like Game of Thrones, like the armies in the field, and they hold these big sort of flags with like their like house symbol on it.
Sure.
That's a standard. That's what it's called. So when they say like raise your standards, that's what that means.
Oh, I feel like that usage has largely fallen out of use.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently standard is like a battle flag.
Okay,
and I was like, well, that makes sense, but you should have called it a battle flag. Why did battle flag winged nightjar? Makes a lot more sense.
And cooler, I will say.
Yeah, that's way cooler. More people would have requested it.
See, that's what's... No, well, we haven't gotten to aesthetics yet. It's like, maybe that's what's keeping it from a perfect score.
Oh, of the Nightjars, this is certainly one of the most visually impressive. Yeah, very beautiful. But also, these are ornamental feathers that are specific to the breeding season.
Oh, so it's not around all the time?
No, it's not around all the time. They develop them, they grow them during the breeding season, and after the breeding season, they molt them.
That's good, because they look cumbersome at a minimum.
I wonder if it's kind of like the peacock thing, where like it's not meant to be practical. It's meant to be a flex of like, look, I can still survive even with this ridiculous encumbrance on me. Like, I'm so tough. I'm built different. I can still like survive even with these stupid, silly feathers trailing behind me.
Peacocks aren't nocturnal, are they? No. Okay.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our friends on the Maximum Fun Network, and then we'll get to ingenuity and aesthetics.
Hello, I'm John Luke Roberts, and I would love for you to give my podcast, Soundteam with John Luke Roberts, a try. It's basically a parody of every type of podcast imaginable, made up with loads of brilliant comedians. It was named the Best Scripted Sketch Show by the BBC Audio Drama Awards, was a finalist for Best Comedy Podcast at the New York Radio Festival, and it has just been nominated for Best Comedy at the British Podcast Awards. Surely, if there are three things you can trust, they're the BBC, New York, and Britain. So give Soundeat with John Luke Roberts a go today. Available from Maximum Fun in all the best podcast apps.
Hi, I'm Alexis.
And I'm Ella.
And we're the hosts of Comfort Creatures.
We could spend the next 28 seconds telling you why you should listen, but instead, here's what our listeners have said about our show, because really, they do know best. The show is filled with stories and poems and science and friendship and laughter and tears sometimes, but tears that are from your heart being so filled up with love.
A cozy show about enthusiasm for animals of all kinds, real and unreal. If you greet the dog before the person walking them, or wander around the party looking for the host's cat, this podcast is for you.
So come for the comfort and stay for Alexis's wild story about waking up to her cat giving birth on top of her. So if that sounds like your cup of tea
or coffee, Ella, we're not all Brits,
then join us
every Thursday at MaximumFun.org.
We're taking a quick thermoregulation break because for some reason the houses in the Pacific Northwest don't have air conditioning. It's really hot in here.
Yeah. Right.
But we're suffering through it
for the art.
Yeah, we're sweating it out. It's kind of like how people do like hot yoga or like, I don't know, hot workouts and stuff. It makes the podcasting better.
Hot casting.
The next category that we rate animals in is ingenuity, behavioral adaptations, things the animal is doing with their body. I'm giving Nightjars a 6 out of 10 for ingenuity.
Okay.
I have some notes. I have some feedback if they're willing to hear it. But first, one of the ways that most people know Nightjars, as we mentioned earlier, probably one of the only way that most people have ever observed them is by hearing them, hearing their calls. They have really, really distinct calls. I mean, if you hear a bird calling in the middle of the night, there's not that many birds it could be, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You can usually narrow it down pretty far. Like I said earlier, there are nightjar species all over the world. So there's a wide variety of calls they can make. They can have a lot of different types of calls, a lot of different types of vocalizations. A lot of their calls tend to be very whimsical in nature, I feel like. So we had a Chuck Will's widow that lived in the woods behind our house in Florida that we really enjoyed hearing at night sometimes. It would be like the dead, like middle of the night.
Yeah.
We would hear it like doing its little onomatopoetic call.
I'm trying to remember what it sounded like.
I'll show you.
The whippoorwill was also named like that, wasn't it?
Yes. So both of those names are references to the call that the bird makes.
Oh, yeah.
So they have a very sort of bouncy, like whimsical sounding call that is just nice. It's nice to hear.
Yeah.
And those also tend to be males that are calling. They're calling to like communicate with other males.
Okay.
Like, stake their territory, things like that. Now, I was like listening to a few different types of nightjar calls, and one of them, as soon as I heard it, immediately I was like, oh, do you know where I knew it from?
Where?
Breath of the Wild.
Oh, really?
In The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. This is such a cool little detail that they include. There's all sorts of interesting details, just like aesthetically in the game, that don't actually contribute anything to the gameplay.
Huh.
Like they don't have any mechanical purpose. They're just there for vibes, I guess. So one of the things is that in Breath of the Wild, and I'm assuming also Tears of the Kingdom, though I don't remember specifically, but I think it's in both. If you're either in or near a forest around nightfall or nighttime, you'll hear a whippoorwill.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if I play you the call, you'll probably recognize it. Do you remember that from Breath of the Wild?
Sort of. It's been a long time for me, though.
It's missing the soothing piano music underneath.
Oh,
That's what it is.
And then the sudden panicked piano when you happen upon something else.
I thought that was just an interesting little like detail in the game that like not only do they have whippoorwill calls, but they play them in the right context.
Oh,
Like being near a forest at nightfall. That's really interesting to me because that's where a whippoorwill would be and when they would be calling.
yeah.
So cool. Such an interesting detail in that game to me. Now, they have this other type of sound that they can make that's not a vocalization. It's called wing clapping.
Okay.
And a lot of different types of nightjars do this. It's not specific to one species, but a lot of times when they're flying through the air, they will clap their wings. So like slap their wings together really, really hard. And it makes a full-on like that kind of sound, like a clapping sound.
Huh.
So when you see this, you see them like, flap their wing really hard and you hear this clapping sound. The logical conclusion to come to is that the wingtips are slapping together and making like a contact sound.
Well, I was about to ask, is this happening on the up or down swing?
So here's the thing. So it was long assumed that the sound is produced by the sort of percussive force of those two wingtips hitting each other. But a very, very close observation and acoustic analysis of this wing clapping behavior has seemed to show that the wingtips never come into contact with each other.
Oh boy.
They don't actually touch. And the people making these observations like analyzed the waveform of the sound of this wing clap, and they found that it had two peaks instead of one. If it was a contact, there would just be one. Like
Sure.
there would just be one peak from the one like point of contact, but it had two.
Huh.
Suggesting that each wing was creating its own sound.
Oh.
So two sounds from like one from each wing.
Huh.
I'll read you a quote from the write-up that the people that made this observation wrote. They wrote, "Birds were seen in silhouette against a bright sky." So the observers are on the ground, nightjars are flying above them. They can see the bird's silhouette like from underneath. Flying directly away from the observers, and multiple observations of the wing-clapping birds were made. One male raised both wings high above its body, but the wings did not touch each other. Clear sky could be seen between the raised wings at all times. The clap appeared coincident with when the wings started to descend from their highest point, but this timing was difficult to judge precisely given the speed of the event. So it seems like it's when the wing starts descending.
Huh.
So it's really not totally known what's causing the sound. If it's like the wind, if it's like a pop from the wind,
Right.
where like the wing is moving so fast that it's maybe... Does cavitation happen in the air?
I guess it could.
Is that a thing that they could do? But that would require an immense amount of force, right?
Yeah. I wonder what distance they were observing from too, because that's another thing. Like the sound will travel slower than what they're seeing.
And also the bird's moving away from them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it was interesting that like the wings aren't touching each other. So it's something else going on. Something like with the wind, something with like they're causing some sort of... Cavitation is the best thing I can think of because I'm thinking about how like mantis shrimps would do that.
Sure.
and it makes like a loud clapping or loud like popping sound.
That would cause problems for them, though, because
It'd probably explode, right?
well, it would hurt them. Like the mantis shrimp, they have the hard shells that they eventually replace with molting. So
yeah, so I guess it's not something like that. Probably not
maybe
that intense.
Oh.
But yeah, so they don't really like fully say. Like, I don't think they have the means of determining what is causing the sound, but it's not really a clap, which is interesting. And that was in an article titled "A Review of Wing Clapping in European Nightjars." That was by Mark J. Eddowes and Allison J. Lee. That was published by the Knutsford Ornithological Society in October of 2021. And that's just a fun little moment of connection. The authors of the article said that they used Audacity to analyze the audio. Like, they pulled the audio up in Audacity, which is the software I use to edit the podcast.
Do you happen to have an audio sample handy? Just curious what it sounds like.
Not on hand, but here, you know what? I can.
Huh.
So it's like a.
It does sound kind of fleshy. I don't know. Maybe could be their armpit.
What? You think they're doing armpit farts through the air?
Or maybe a particularly creaky joint.
What if it has nothing to do with the Nightjars at all, and it's just someone's neighbors?
Someone loves it, like, yeah, Nightjar.
Well, if you're ever out in the woods at night and you hear some rhythmic, fleshy clapping,
come on now,
you can just blame it on the Nightjars.
That's what I'm going to tell the kids.
Yeah, don't look into it. Anyway, whew. So during the daytime, Nightjars will perch on branches or on the ground and stay completely still to camouflage, even flattening themselves to look like a long branch, which you may recall from the Potu. That's a signature Potu move.
Yeah.
Well, Potus will do like an exaggerated version of this. They will fully like stretch their chin out and like make their eyes like almost just barely open, like they're mostly closed but just barely. And Nightjars will do something like this. They'll kind of stretch themselves out a little bit.
They're taking that stick bug game up a level.
Yeah. Yeah. And many species of nightjar will also sit on the ground while searching for prey. So while they're foraging, they're hunting for bugs, they will start by perching on the ground. They'll still be like at ground level. And this looks pretty silly at first, right? Because it's like, why are you down there? Bugs are up.
Yeah.
Go up. Birds go up. Why are you down on the ground? That's not where the bugs go. But it actually lets them look up at the sky and use the sky as a bright backdrop so they can see the silhouettes of bugs much more easily.
Nice.
So it like lets them see better because it's more contrast between the bug and the sky. Which, if you've ever been peacefully walking along, enjoying a sort of walk or a day in nature, and then you look up and realize how many mosquitoes are swarming just above your head, and giving yourself a bad time. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But for them, it's a good thing. They're like, yum, yum, yum. Okay, so I did give them a 6 out of 10. One thing that they do that I had to knock points for is a little move called egg on the ground.
Okay.
It's where they lay their eggs on the ground.
On purpose?
Yeah, that's just no nest, no problem. They just kind of dig a little scrape in the ground, maybe rustle some leaves around, maybe find a nice little hidden spot in the ground, but they just plop that egg right down in the ground. That'll do. They will also like sit on it and protect it and, be there for it and stuff like that. The male bird will also participate in this part of it. Okay. Will help, especially during the daytime. So I think we'll kind of give the mother nightjar a little break. But yeah, they just lay their egg right on the ground. No nest. Like some birds, we'll sometimes make fun of like mourning doves and stuff for making really, really terrible nests. Yeah. They don't even start. They don't even start the process. They're like, I'm going to skip that whole thing.
I mean, it makes sense. If you're just going to put 2 sticks down, why do you...
Like, why bother with that?
Yeah.
I think the sticks are more just to keep the egg from rolling away.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a door stopper. Yeah, they just kind of plop the egg right down in the ground. And the problem with that is that that's where things live that will eat them. Yeah. It's a bad call. That's what I'm saying. Put them somewhere else. Do like so many other birds do this. What are you doing? Don't put them there. That's a really bad place for eggs.
Maybe they're just bad at it, making nests.
I mean,
like maybe anatomically. I don't know.
Would you say that I'm bad at skydiving?
I don't know.
Like, how would they know? They don't even try. This brings me to aesthetics for the nightjar. I'm giving them like an 8 out of 10. They're pretty cute.
Yeah.
Especially, like I mentioned, some of the more ornamental ones, the ones with the really interesting feathers. That's cool. The great-eared nightjar is definitely a real stunner. It's a beautiful bird. I'll show you a picture. It's got a cute little, like, upturned bob almost, like a kitty cat looking sort of like ear to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cute. Some pictures of it do look very dragon-like, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those. That's great. What's up?
I just realized what the trailing feathers made me think of.
What?
On your phone.
Yeah.
Could you look up Naboo Starfighter?
Oh, great. Oh, yeah. That's funny. It is like that. Wow. I people won't believe me, but I've been sitting here looking at you this entire time. You did not get your phone out for that.
No.
You did not have to look that up or anything. You knew exactly what it was called.
It's from Phantom Menace.
Can you give me a timestamp of every frame where it shows up?
No, but it did make a reappearance in The Mandalorian more
nice.
recently.
Oh, it has a nice color to it.
It wasn't that color in The Mandalorian, but yeah.
Boo. They de-ossified the Naboo Starfighter.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're pretty cute. Aesthetics, I really don't feel like is the driving feature here. Now, this brings me to... so first I want to talk about their conservation status as we're wrapping up. Like I mentioned earlier, there's lots of different species. Some are doing better than others. Some are doing just fine. Some are doing great. But some are not doing very well. I ran a search for this family on the IUCN Red List, and one of the ones that stood out is the Jamaican poorwill. The scientific name is Siphonoris americana. They are critically endangered and are thought to possibly be extinct.
Wow.
So it's a species endemic to Jamaica. And the IUCN cited introduced mammals as the biggest factor contributing to their decline. So particularly rats and mongooses. It's kind of the usual suspects here, I feel like.
Especially for island birds.
Yeah, and especially one that spends so much time on the ground and puts their eggs on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm begging you to stop putting your eggs on the ground. Stop. Well, you know, when these terrestrial predators that they never would have had to adapt to before suddenly get introduced in very large numbers.
Yeah.
They can't adapt quickly enough to keep up with that.
Right.
But also, like, they've lost like 75% of their native habitat to deforestation. So, you know, there's a lot of things working against the Jamaican poorwill. They're critically endangered if they even still exist at this point. So, So yeah, some species of nightjars are doing okay. Others need a lot of help. Now, this brings me to the final thing I wanted to talk about for nightjars. Think back to the goat sucker thing that I mentioned earlier.
Finally.
Yes. This is the payoff I was waiting for. That myth, like I mentioned, that was a myth that was very prevalent in ancient Europe, particularly in the Mediterranean, right? It was a myth in ancient Greece, ancient Western Europe, including Spain and Portugal, where the name goatsucker translated to Chupacabra.
Oh.
So chotar is an obsolete word meaning to suck, like to suckle, more like for milk.
Yeah.
Later replaced with a newer verb, chupar.
Oh.
Giving you Chupacabra.
Interesting.
So, the myth and the name Chupacabra was carried along with the Spanish and the Portuguese. I think Chupacabra was the original Portuguese name, and I think the chupar just got like brought into Spanish later.
Huh.
But so the myth and the name were carried along with the Spanish and the Portuguese when they colonized the Caribbean and Central and South America. And it sort of combined with a lot of pre-existing local superstitions about nightjars, because they had their own native nightjars that weren't the same species as the ones the Spanish and Portuguese were familiar from in Europe, but they were still nightjars. So I think they were similar enough that they just got the same sort of label slapped on them. And there were already a lot of local superstitions about them because it's like a bird calling at night. They were like associated with spirits and death and stuff like that. I think there were some legends about them being like spirits of people who had been lost in the forest, stuff like that. So there was already some spooky vibes around nightjars. So the Spanish and the Portuguese myths of Chupacabra got, you know, assigned to the nightjars in the Caribbean and Central and South America. So they have this existing idea of a nocturnal animal that sucks goat sucks fluid from goats because it's milk to begin with,
Sure.
called Chupacabra or Chupacabra.
Mm-hmm.
In 1995, a woman in Canovanas, Puerto Rico, named Madeline Tolentino Maldonado made, if not the first, then at least the most impactful cryptozoological Chupacabra sighting. So this is the one that kind of cements the modern pop culture Chupacabra. So in an interview with UFO Digest on March 20th, 1996, she describes it as a bipedal creature. She says it's about 4 feet tall, with long, skinny arms and legs, skin that she said appeared burned, and feather-like spikes on its lower back. And she also said that it, quote, made robot-like movements as if being controlled by someone, and hopped like a kangaroo. So this report and a sort of accompanying illustration. So they took her description and made like an illustration of it. And that became very, very popular on Spanish talk shows and sparked a wave of Chupacabra sightings, particularly in like Puerto Rico. But you start to see it in like the United States. Like this is when you start to get these Chupacabra sightings.
Yeah, because I guess for me, I think of like the Southwest and Mexico of like when I think Chupacabra.
Right. Yeah, I think that's because it became so popular in like Spanish language television. Yeah. So I think that also became popular in like Mexico. Mm-hmm. So you start to see these like, it just starts to kind of spread there and then into the United States and stuff. Now, skeptics note that this sighting occurred in August of 1995. In July of 1995, so 1 month before, the movie Species had its theatrical release in Puerto Rico. This was a sci-fi movie about an alien that escapes from a lab in Puerto Rico. Oh. Which Madeline Tolentino Maldonado later admitted to having seen before the Chupacabra sighting.
Okay.
The alien in the movie shares some very striking similarities to her account of this monster.
Okay.
It's bipedal. It has this like silvery coppery color to it. It has feather-like spikes on its lower back. It's very, very similar to the way she describes this monster that she sees.
All right.
So, it seems like we can figure out what happened here, right? Like, I don't know.
That's too late.
Well, yeah, it kind of just becomes a thing, right? But the fact that, like, the name Chupacabra, I guess because around the time of that sighting, there had also, like, a few months before that been, like, a slew of goat deaths. Like, a bunch of goats on the island in Puerto Rico had, like, mysteriously died and nobody knew why.
Okay.
So I think that this monstrous, cryptid sighting got attributed to these goat deaths. And they already had this mythology of, something that kills goats at night called Chupacabra, even though that's a bird, but now is the name of a cryptid, of a spooky monster.
That's
at
cool.
Night. In fact, even in like Spanish, like if you go on the Wikipedia page for Nightjar and you put it in like the Spanish language, they're called Chupacabra. Still.
Neat.
And I was baffled by the fact that because I was like, I read so many things about Chupacabra, like origins and Chupacabra sightings and stuff. I did not really see any sort of, especially in the like cryptozoological side of things, nobody was making the connection to the bird called Chupacabra, like that had been called Chupacabra for hundreds of years before.
Right.
Like nobody was making that connection at all, except for, I got a lot of this information actually from this article called The Secret Prehistory of El Chupacabra, and that was by journalist Jason Colavito. And he does make the connection between the Nightjar and like their role in like the Spanish and Portuguese myths surrounding the Nightjar that then become the Chupacabra myth from like Puerto Rico and Central America.
But none of this talks about how or why the myth started in the first place.
See, I was reading a lot of because I was trying to find the woman's original account of how she described the monster that she saw.
Yeah.
And so I was reading a lot of like cryptozoology blogs and stuff like that were talking about the Chupacabra, or like where did the myth of the Chupacabra originate? Because like a big part of the concern is if this is something that supposedly is like an ancient monster, why do sightings of it begin in 1995 and not before then? And I was like, why is nobody bringing up the fact that that's the name of a bird that has been here for millions of years?
But I'm still wondering about the origins of the myth surrounding the bird, like the bird sucking milk from a goat.
That one I don't know. Like,
I guess that one's just lost to time.
I think it's a coincidence, just that like they saw that these birds were flying around at night and something happened to their goats overnight, and they figured those two things were related.
What if it's something silly?
It probably is. It's definitely something silly.
Where it was meant as an insult of some sort, and someone was like, oh, I'm going to name this bird after that one guy.
After my buddy Chupacabra. My old buddy.
Who got caught suckling off goats.
Sucking goats. Uh-oh. Never mind. Immortalized. So yeah, that is the Nightjar, the real El Chupacabra.
Cool. Thanks, babe.
I really did not, going into this, the last thing I expected was to go on like a significant Chupacabra tangent.
Do you want to know what show did an episode about the Chupacabra?
Dexter's Laboratory?
And...
Oh, we didn't have the same frame of reference.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I didn't know that one.
Okay.
But the one I was going to say, Jackie Chan Adventures.
Really? Did Jackie Chan Adventures have a Chupacabra? That makes sense.
Yes.
They do all sorts of stuff. All right, reset the Jackie Chan Adventures counter to 0. It was one of those things that, like, it was like yesterday, as I was like almost done with my notes, and I come across this Chupacabra connection.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, God.
Write that down. Write that down.
Well, because I knew, I was like, man, this is going to be another like 3 hours of reading for me.
Okay.
Like, man, I hate that when I'm like, I think I'm done. And then I find one thing that I know is going to derail me completely.
Cryptozoology is also very interesting.
It is. And I think I'm interested in it for very different reasons from a lot of people who are interested in it. Like, I'm interested in like the anthropology side of it. Like, what does this say about like the mingling of cultures? Like I'm interested in what it says about the people who tell these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like I do not share that perspective with a lot of cryptozoology enthusiasts. So
Right.
It's very difficult for me to find cryptozoology content that I like.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm like, listen, let's be real. Our 4-year-old has been on a huge kick recently of asking if things are real.
Right.
That's been his thing recently. Are dinosaurs real? Are pirates real?
Yeah.
Is Pikachu real? And it's funny because a lot of things he's asking if they're real, we have to kind of like explain. Because he'll be like, "Are unicorns real?" And we're like,
I mean, it
but
makes a lot of sense, you know.
He's at that age where it's difficult for him to tell. Like he's starting to parse the difference between fiction and fact.
Right, because there's so much that, you know, he hasn't experienced firsthand.
That's true.
Right?
He wouldn't have any way of knowing if that's a real thing or not. It's very likely.
Like, so to him, a documentary about elephants could be equally as factual as, I don't know, like a cartoon about dragons.
Oh man, I guess like showing him things like Prehistoric Planet and stuff is kind of throwing a wrench in things, because it's like it is a documentary that looks extremely realistic, and I'm like, it's kind of made up, but
I did say elephants, but he has actually seen elephants
that's
firsthand.
True. He has seen elephants
at the zoo. So
yeah, he has made visual contact with an elephant.
But you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, and especially with things that are otherwise completely plausible, you know? Like, I feel like a unicorn, that's totally plausible.
Sure.
It's just a horse with a horn. There's nothing, like, inherently unbelievable about that, you know? But he's been on a real kick recently of asking if things are real.
Yeah. So I've personally been just trying to have fun with it. Being factual and correct, but just enjoying the phase.
Well, he asked me the other day if Bigfoot was real.
Yeah.
And I had to be like, well... Like, a lot of people think he's real. I don't think he's real in the sense that, like, you could see and touch a Bigfoot, but it's interesting and it's fun if you play along.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's fun if you're, like, part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Also, when he asked if dinosaurs were real, I have to be like, yes, but most of them don't exist anymore, but some of them do, but they're birds. Like, it's hard to explain.
What you would call a dinosaur, you know.
Right. What we would colloquially probably refer to as a dinosaur, no, but, you know, that's not to say that they never existed in the first place.
Right.
So yeah, thank you all for spending this time with us. If you liked what you heard today, I would love it if you could leave behind some nice words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. Like, when doggic? I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly. Wendogic on Apple Podcasts wrote, I have become an endless fountain of animal facts. I finally listened to every episode of this podcast. That is true dedication. Wow. I respect the commitment. And it is amazing. It kept me company through Hurricane Helene and Milton when I first started listening.
Oh.
And I've been devouring it since. Every episode is so fun, especially the ones with Ellen and Christian. I've always been an animal kid, so this podcast speaks to that person I've always been.
Oh,
that's so nice. I'm glad that we were able to be a source of comfort during a time when it feels like nature is attacking you directly.
Yeah.
I don't miss hurricanes, but we've been through many hurricanes together, and we're familiar with that, the situation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I still miss Waffle House.
The Waffle House
it was there
disaster
for me.
Indicator. Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciated that comment. I was really impressed that listening to every episode, we are coming up on, this is episode 299.
Oh.
So we're coming up on 300, and that's certainly more than 300 hours of content.
Yes.
So that's, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you spending all that time with us. I hope you have not gotten sick of us yet. We would like to thank the Maximum Fun Network for having us along with their other amazing podcasts, like the ones that you heard promos for during this episode. If you want to go learn more about the network and their other podcasts and how you can be a part of supporting our show, head over to MaximumFun.org. We would also like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music. And that's all for today. We'll see you guys next week. Next week is episode 300. We'll have to do something special.
Yes.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Maximum Fun, a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.